Oh, Zack Snyder, you've done it again. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire is a Netflix original written and directed by Zack Snyder himself, who did 300, the Dawn of the Dead 2004 version that was quite good and pretty much was the best reimagining of a classic horror movie that I've seen in quite some time, proving that Zack Snyder actually knows what he's doing when it comes to filmmaking, whether horror or action. And then he also did Watchmen. That was certainly divisive. We got to see Blue Wang, massive Blue Wang. Shall I stop saying Blue Wang? One of these days, but Blue Wang all the way. And also Sucker Punch. Well, there are a bunch of pretty girls in the cast, and that's really about all I took away from that movie. And also Man of Steel, and then Justice League, and then the director's cut of Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut of the Snyder Cut. And Army of the Dead. Remember that zombie movie that cost around $150 to $200 million, and WWE decided to have a zombie lumberjack match? In the last show that they had before the pandemic, or at least one of the last premium live pay-per-view main shows that they had before they went back out on the road, yeah, Batista was in that. And they thought that was a good tie-in. But yeah, Zack Snyder has done films that have been well received, and then others that have a lot of defenders, despite the fact that the quality of some projects, like Justice League and even Man of Steel, was a little bit weird. Very, very dark, interesting, had a good cast, but nevertheless, Zack Snyder is a filmmaker that a lot of people pay attention to, and this is his latest film. Titled Part 1 because we're at least getting a second, possibly third, maybe 4 parts. Maybe we're going to get 5 million parts of this story, because it seems like there's an infinite number of worlds, an infinite number of characters in this tale about they're out in the vastness of space, this resistance on the distant side of a moon, not the dark side of a moon, but there's a bunch of farmers, and you have Cora, played by Sofia Boutella, who was the young lady with the blades for legs in the Kingsman movie, and also is going to be in the upcoming Argyle movie, and is in her early 40s and looks fucking incredible. She's fucking gorgeous. Can't actually wait to see Argyle, because boy does she look fabulous, and what a loaded cast that is. But yes, Cora is living on this planet where their farmers are simple farmers, gathering grain and all this. She tends to the crops, and with some weird horse-like camel creature thing that has weird gills on its face and everything, because space age. And then after a, vile force of imperialistic rule called the Mother World invades her land, she must gather a band of misfits and miscreants and people that hate the Mother World and fight back and destroy the Empire. We must see the Empire fall. Resistance is futile and all that stuff. And yeah, wait a second, this is just Star Wars fan fiction with a $90 million budget and a lot of Zack Snyder slow-mo. And this much I have to say before I get into the rest of this movie. Fuck everybody that thought this was a good goddamn idea. 3 people wrote this. 3 motherfucking people wrote this. Zack Snyder should not be allowed to ever write a movie, direct a movie, or be anywhere near a goddamn setting, because this is one of the worst sci-fi movies I have ever motherfucking seen. At least in the last 20 years, but possibly with this kind of a budget, it's baffling that it looks cheaper than Knights of the Zodiac that cost $60 million. Djimon Hounsou is in this. Ed Skrein. Bae Doona, who was in The Host, and she was great in that. Michael Heisman. You had Carrie Ills in this. You had Charlie Hunnam. You had Cleopatra coming at you. Cleopatra Coleman, who was in Infinity Pool, and is a fucking incredible actress and a beauty, and just, God, Jenna Malone was in this. Tony Amendola. You even had a UFC fighter, Francis Ngannou. I think I probably totally butchered that name. I've seen him fight like maybe twice, if that. I know he was good for a time. And Stuart Martin and many other people. This is a loaded cast. This actually was the equivalent of like if Uwe Boll did a sci-fi movie. This is right on par with In the Name of the King as far as how bafflingly stupid it is from the opening credits to the closing credits. It's just stuff being thrown at the screen. It really is Star Wars fan fiction. And look, Star Wars wasn't even the most wholly original movie. It was basically Seven Samurai in space, but at least it had life and ingenuity and interesting stuff going on. And also, it came out over 40 years ago. And you can only reinvent the wheel so many goddamn times and ride the mighty space raven and all this shit that's happening. We just go from boom, 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 planet, and world and characters, and people get like the threadbarest amount of story, and then boom, it's off to the next thing. And look, with part one, I get it. You're trying to tell a story that's, that's having an arc and everything, and you're trying to make sure that you build some characters. But when you don't even bother to do that in the first part, what are you trying to do? This actually reminds me of that Mortal Engines movie. If anybody remembers that, I love you guys, where it was apparently supposed to be the start of a trilogy or a series of movies. Could have been 4 movies for all I goddamn know. And even though this was supposed to be the first part, it felt like we missed, I don't know, about 2 other movies. It felt like we got dropped right in the middle of a long-running series. Because, sure, we got some story bits a little bit later on, none of which were surprising, by the way. I'm going to spoil this in a bit, but spoiling this will not haunt you at all. This is easily one of the worst fucking movies I have seen in a very, very long time. One of the worst sci-fi movies ever might actually have been a little bit, too dramatic. But considering the budget that this had, and considering that I have seen sci-fi movies with minimalist budgets somehow pull it off better than this, it's baffling. And I thought The Creator was bad. I'm going to be doing my worst and best movies of the year list sometime after this review goes up. So watch for that. You can see where this is going to be. But yeah, there's a peaceful settlement, and then they are besieged by this evil imperialistic force. And Korra realizes she must fight and defend her land, and she's got a backstory, and then she knows other people that she's going to get, and they have a backstory, and everybody's going to tie together, and none of the people that she gets would ever betray her. Why would you think that? That never happens in sci-fi movies, Star Wars or otherwise. Fuck you, Zack Snyder. Fuck you for thinking this is a good goddamn idea. And fuck anybody that thinks that this actually was something that was beneficial to sci-fi. Except maybe how to do sci-fi wrong. Now, if you enjoyed this, that's fine. And I don't mind taking movies as pure entertainment, but I was honestly just, again, fucking baffled at the ineptitude on every level. There's actual talent here. Actual fucking talent. There's an actress I'd never heard of called E. Duffy who didn't get much to do. She tried to shine in some of the scenes. The action scenes are so mind-numbingly bad that an hour in, you're just waiting for it to be over. Cut out the slow-mo, this thing's 20 minutes shorter. This is worse than Army of the Dead, because at least that had Batista and that had some good ideas. This has nothing to it. It's ripping off The Matrix. It's ripping off Star Wars. It's ripping off... I thought it was going to rip off Event Horizon at some points, but yes, they're just sets. There's just shit going on, and none of the shit matters. And I don't care if this is based on a book. I don't care if this is based on an original idea. I'm guessing that the writers were just forced, basically, to do whatever the fuck that they were doing. Basically, they were forced to just pretty much write the most banal shit possible. It's actually frightening that this thing managed to get made and managed to get $90 million. It had to have been off the back of Zack Snyder. There is no other explanation as to why a movie would get this kind of a budget and this kind of marketing and this kind of platform. This should have never seen the light of day. You want to talk about writing shit off like Warner Bros. Discovery's done? Netflix should have wrote this shit off. They think that this is going to be good. All this is going to do is give people more ammunition to say, yeah, none of these big budget movies should be made and none of these cast members should be assembled to do stuff like this. Even if they think it's a good idea, it's just recycled and recycled and recycled, and it continues to be recycled upon recycled upon recycled material to the point that it's like a water bottle that's been recycled, 3 or 4 times, and it just starts to burst. And then the dams are opening up, and then suddenly everybody's getting drowned by all this. What am I on about? I don't know. None of the action scenes were any good. They had laser swords. Can't call them lightsabers. Can't do that. George Lucas's grandparents, and Disney should all sue Zack Snyder for all this shit, because, my God, Uwe Boll can take a seat, because he is no longer the director of one of the worst, type of big budget type movies like this. This could have been a video game, a really, really bad video game. At least Uwe Boll, has a bit of humor towards his movies, even if they're not meant to be funny. Zack Snyder has gone from Dawn of the Dead 2004, and even if Man of Steel had its moments, it was showing cracks and signs that maybe Zack Snyder isn't that talented of a filmmaker. Maybe he just got lucky. And this is just bad. This is really, really fucking bad. And there's all this stuff about kings and droids and other sets. And it looked like we went to the John Carter planet at one point. And people were just bouncing around. And yeah, characters just thrown in. And then stuff happens. And people die stupidly. And it also hints, since this is part 1, we're getting part 2. I think part 2 comes out in April. I will probably watch it, because why the fuck not? If it's any worse than this, I might lose my goddamn mind. But yeah, as far as a terrible, terrible sci-fi movie, a terrible movie in general, Zack Snyder deserves to never see the light of day as a director or writer again. I don't know how much thought he put into this, but more would have helped. And speaking of the other writers, you had Kurt Johnstad, who did, 300, 302, Electric, 300 Lou. It had Eva Green in it. She looked incredible. And also he did Atomic Blonde. And then the other writer, Shea Hutton, he did John Wick Chapter 3 and John Wick Chapter 4 and Army of the Dead and the Army of Thieves prequel that really nobody cared about. And also Day Shift, that was awful. I'm going to get into spoilers because I have things to talk about and I'm sick of basically waiting. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Yeah, if anybody's still watching at this point, this is what I'm going to spoil. It wastes every single actor, as far as talent in this goddamn thing. Anybody that could have been seen as somebody viable, no, they just squash them completely. Inspired by 7 samurai. Well, all 7 of these samurai, or those samurai, should have committed the art of Sudoku, if you know what I mean. There's a guy named Balasius, who, by the way, and that's the king. I think you'll recognize the king when you see him. And he sent his number 1 general, commander, noble, who, I just at this goddamn point, none of it fucking matters. None of it matters. The planet that Sophia's character Nora or Cora lives on, they're doing farming and everything, and then suddenly we don't even get a year. It could be 2035. It could be 2020 or 2200. It could be a Victorian age before dinosaurs roamed the earth and space age technology vanished. So we must show them partnership, not fear. How about you show intelligence and actually some character? So we get Noble, the evil commander guy, and the other generals that look like space Nazis. We then get a droid that's abused called JC-1435 that ends up, of course, being a droid that lost all its will to fight after the king and the king's daughter were assassinated. And then that droid instantly shoots somebody a little bit later. So much for that story arc. The sets, the special effects, the costumes. I'm not saying that people didn't put effort into it. And I hope they got paid well. But everything was bland and generic and not good. It's like if Star Wars and The Fifth Element had a bastardized baby and it was a result of 3 generations of inbreeding and was raised by a bunch of inbred hillbillies in the mountains of, I don't know, Methuselah. I don't know what the fuck I'm goddamn on about. The mountains of Greece. Let's just go with that. Methuselah was a historical figure, allegedly. Maybe a mythological figure. So yeah, obviously, we get this thing between this girl, Sam, that reminds him of the king's daughter that had the power to heal people. Sam, of course, got attacked because she made the pants too long. Yeah, had to work that in here. And I wrote down a few times, this has been fucking dreadful. This is putrid. Zack Snyder deserves to be run out of town and off this planet. The action scenes in slow-mo. Cut down on the slow-mo, Zach. It's not good. It's not entertaining. The slow-mo was overused. I mean, easily could have been under 2 hours. with the end credits that they had cut that out. Then they go to, after Cora has a brief bout of not wanting to do anything, she sees Sam getting almost attacked. There's this one general or one soldier guy that seems to have authority but then doesn't because he gets beaten down, and then the droid shoots the guy that was trying to get Sam because Sam again made the pants too long, and then the droid just stays there. Cora and this guy Gunner find this guy named Kai. You'll recognize the actor playing Kai. He's actually been better and a whole lot more stuff than this. And they go to this place called the city of Providence, not Providence, Rhode Island. I would rather go to Providence, Rhode Island than this. And all due respect to Providence, Rhode Island, I'm sorry if you would be watching it from there. Never been, and then never had any desire to go. But I imagine it's quite lovely, as opposed to this movie that looks bland, ugly, and is just goddamn generically, well, it's basically predisposing me to pretty much hate anything sci-fi now. So thanks, Zack Snyder. Thank you. Thank you, you fucking moron. So yeah, they're looking for this Kai guy. This other guy gets kidnapped and taken away because he knows the holding area of this resistance led by a dreadlock guy named Bloodaxe and also Cleopatra coming at you. At least we get to see Cleopatra Coleman at some point. These fight scenes, there's a fight scene in a bar with a pig guy that tries to hit on Gunner for some reason, and then we get attack scenes. And then this noble guy is being drained of infection or whatever, or gets erotic pleasure out of being attacked by the giant space leeches. I don't know what the hell that was about. What was going on there? Who cares? Let's go to the John Carter planet, where a guy that basically might as well have been the floating bug from Star Wars Episode 1. I don't remember the character's name. I don't care. But he has a guy named Tarek. Hey, Tarek, who is paying off a debt, some kind of debt. He's ripped, he has long hair, and he must tame this space raven, griffin creature thing, and then his debt is paid. That creature has been there for a while, evidently, and he does. Through this cliff, chase thing where he's flying it, and then he jumps on the space raven, or the Bennu, or Bennu. And that was an easy debt to pay off. Eat shit, Zack Snyder. Like Zack Snyder's going to watch this. And sorry, if you're a big fanboy of Zack Snyder, you really shouldn't be watching this, because I don't give a shit. Then they go to this trading post that Kai says, hey, we have to drop this stuff off at. Okay, what stuff? Then it's an oil world thing. And then there's Beiduna. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, who is named Nemesis, and is trying to rescue children from this space spider thing that's played by voiced by Jenna Malone. And I love Jenna Malone. What the fuck is going on? Then the space spider gets killed. Moving on. Then we get to the Golden Compass flashback, where the princess, is watched by Cora, who actually was named Arthurelius. Arthur Fonzarelli. Let's just go Arthur Fonzarelli. Arthur Fonzarelli was guarding. And was basically taking care of that. And, Arthur Fonzarelli saw an example of the healing powers of the princess. How'd the princess die? How'd the king die? Who fucking cares? So anyway, they run into Bloodaxe and everybody after the space spider's killed. That happens really quickly, by the way. And then they convince the Bloodaxe people, including Cleopatra, who, my God, she's fucking gorgeous. God, I love her. There's this gladiator arena thing. They get this 300 spot. All this stuff, they're just bouncing around these planets. They find Jaimin Hanzu, who used to be a general, General Titus. And then he has his sins washed away, seemingly. And Cora says, hey, I want your help. Okay. Jaimin Hanzu is a tremendous actor. Why the fuck are they putting him in shit like this? Why is he not getting more meaty parts? And this is fucking awful, bafflingly awful. Speech by the Dreadlocker, a.k.a. Bloodaxe. God, this is brutal. And then there was some kind of weird tentacle guy that looked like Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Whichever fucking one that was, 3, 4, 5, I don't care. I don't care. You beat the passion out of me, Zack Snyder. Fucking moron. Yeah, the planet gets blown up by Noble because he's just so vicious. He's a vicious space Nazi. And then they get to this trading post thing, finally. I kind of flummoxed a few things, not that the story matters. And Kai suddenly betrays them because he's going to take their heads and collect them and get prizes. And because the Mother World destroyed him, he's helping the people that helped blow it up. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care at this point. And then Kai gets destroyed because there's this part where you have to basically do, it's like the Matrix hookup thing, you know, you hook it in the back and you push the pin in. They did that to a guy that was going to tell him where the resistance was and killed him. And Kai is going to do that because everybody suddenly gets captured. Noble and everybody's there, and Kai was the one that warned them. I warned you, I betrayed you, and then, you all got free quickly. Well, that was quick. Kai got killed by this gunner guy. And then they had this fight. And they're just having this fight, all these space platforms and everything that are, even if they're not all hooked together, just sitting there and all powered by whatever the fuck. Blood of the innocent. Blood of the innocent, has no business being anywhere near this. The blood of the guilty should have been spilled on the floors of this set. Who's shooting who? Why do I care? The dreadlock guy dies. Blood Axe, I think, was his name. And then the slow-mo's ridiculous. We get Cora, who's really Arthur Fonzarelli, attacking this Noble guy, and they're fighting. She's nearly dead. She gets a rope or a chain or a black piece of hentai, for all I goddamn knows, and hentais him down, and then beats him up, knocks some teeth out, and kicks him off, and he's dead. Stabs him, and he's off and everything, and he's dead. He's dead. He's absolutely dead. There's no way that this guy could come back. There's no way the space Nazi could come back. Cool. And then that Tarek guy says, hey, people may have died in battle, but let's honor them. Thanks, Tarek. Nice of you to kick in here. What is happening is what I noted many times in this movie. I mean, it's not that it's a hard plot to follow, it's an impossible plot to care about. So you don't care what's happening. This would have been a beautiful place to die. Yes, it would, but it's not going to be a beautiful place to die. The droid, by the way, after Sam had given it a crown, has a thorny crown and has a staff, and I guess is going to lead a resistance. Against the resistance or with the resistance? Who cares? And, yeah, Noble isn't dead. He is sent to the king in an alternate dimension around ice and lasers and fish underwater. Giant fish. And says, by the way, Arthur Fonzarelli is my daughter. What? Pretends to be shocked. Bring her to me. And part 1. Fuck you, Zack Snyder. Fuck any of the people that thought this is a good goddamn idea to bring the film. F. In case you can't tell, fucking F. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentland. I'll see you soon.